We're going to introduce Dan. Dan has a company. A lot of people have been to the Holocaust Museum, and they know that they have all these great things. And there was a period of time when a lot of people were thinking about telling their life stories. And a lot of people tend to make their own little collages. They put together some old videos, put together some old pictures, and they're hodgepodge. But it isn't really what you do. What you do is more of a history, of a legacy. I want to leave my family something they know everything about me, and I can tell them who I am and show them who I am so that it isn't guesswork. They really have your story. Is that right, Dan?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely. We are here to help people preserve their life stories for future generations. And we base it on how Spielberg did it for the Shoah Foundation. So the interviews are set up the exact same way he set them up. And that's what we're here to do.
Okay, so when people come to you, do they bring things with, like pictures and videos and all that, and say, make this into a story?
No, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get someone to tell their life story in their own words, their face, their accent, their sense of humor. So we're going into their homes. We might do a pre-interview with, usually it's their children that are hiring us or their grandchildren. So we might get a general idea of what kinds of stories they want to tell. So specific stories that are just to that person, they're going to let us know, so we make sure we cover those. And then I am there to keep them in chronological order and take them from grandparents to grandchildren to tell their entire life story. And then once we've done that, through digital technology and the internet, we can let them review the video, and then they can add photos to it.
Okay, so they can put in pictures.
Absolutely.
So people, if you have to do this, if you have old pictures that you can use, then are there some that are non-usable? Does it happen?
Well, I always tell people, if that's the only picture you have of Grandpa Joe, I don't care if it's ripped and it's faded and it's got scratches in it. That's the only picture. So if that's the best
you can make it, you'll make it happen.
Absolutely. So you should use it. I mean, you want to, adding that visual element, we're seeing their face during the whole interview, but if we can fade away and show the grandpa or the house they lived in for 50 years or the war picture, that adds the richness to the interview.
Okay. So is this a major production? Because a lot of people are going to say, well, I haven't got 17 days to sit down and be interviewed. How long does it take?
Again, we base it just on how Spielberg did it with the Holocaust survivors. It's roughly 2 hours in their home, 2 hours of filming. And so they don't have to do major preparation. They don't even have to look through their pictures first because we're just going to do the interview in their home.
Okay.
And then after they get the interview back, we give it to them back with time coding on it. So there's a running clock right on the screen. And then they can give us back photos, and based on that clock, tell us exactly where that photo goes.
Oh, okay.
So when the wedding picture comes in at 32 minutes and 50 seconds, they just write that down, and we'll put that in at that point.
Got it. Okay, so this is done. The 2 hours is their time that they do the interview.
Correct.
And then the other time is just elements of what they need to supply to you or add to it, and then you are doing that secondarily and then putting it in where they want it.
Right, and we even offer a service because we know sometimes it's hard for people, especially older people, to go through all their photo albums and pictures and boxes and all that kind of stuff. So we will send in a producer who will sit with them, watch the whole video, mark down all the times, help them go through their photo albums. So we can make it as easy as they want us to make it.
Oh. Now, prior to that 2 hour that you sit down, you have to meet probably before then, go through the story to try and do a storyline.
We're not, remember, this is a story with the one person, so we're not interviewing the entire family.
Oh, okay.
And again, we will do whatever they want. I'm talking about our standard package that we offer that most people take. So it's really usually the kids who are providing us with that extra information.
Gotcha.
We don't want people to be overly prepared and start memorizing stories and writing things down because then they're going to read me their story.
Right. Then they have to have a dress rehearsal, makeup, the whole thing, props.
Absolutely.
See, I thought maybe you would have a room with all the grandparents and all
Yeah,
the
no. This is a one-on-one interview because we want to save their exact story, how they grew up, what their successes, their failures were. We believe a legacy shouldn't be about leaving a check behind. It's great, people work their whole life to make money and save money, and they have an accountant and a financial planner, all this stuff to pass money down. and that's great. If you can pass money down to your grandchildren, that's great. But we don't think people should be remembered as the man or woman who left them a check. To me,
I like that.
Unfortunately, that happens.
It's
and I
pretty
wish it wasn't
shallow.
True. Yeah.
And
that would be the perfect time for applause.
so we want them to know, oh, that's why Grandma shoves food down our throat every time we go there, because, oh my God, I didn't realize how poor she was, or this is why he has that sense of humor, or, and to teach them not just about the successes, but about the failures. So, kids today who think everything's going to come so easy and they're going to make $1 million overnight should hear about their grandparents who might be living in a nice place now and they take nice vacations and they seem to be happy, that, oh my God, they did declare bankruptcy and they did sleep on a porch when it was too hot in the apartment and they went through all these struggles. So when they go through a little struggle, they don't freak out.
And that's so true, because I see it more. Every time I would complain about something, my dad would go, I walked 2 miles up a hill to get to school.
And both ways up the hill.
Yeah,
both ways up the hill. And I had holes in my shoes.
And then then the problem is when you get older, now that I'm really old and my parents are gone, it's like, how did that story go? And who's this person? And where did they meet? And
so, it's funny, because remember I told you that my granddaughter was in town. She's 22. She took one of those DNA tests. She wanted to get her a little more history and do a family tree. And we sat down and we tried to figure out some of the stuff, some of the names she had come up with. And I remember a lot of it, but I didn't remember all of it. I had to do some real deep searching to remember some of the stuff so I could help her to fill that point in. So I understand that it's kind of it's going to go eventually. And eventually, if you don't do something like this, people will not have any recollection of what it was and who everybody was. So it's, building a family tree, and if you don't have all the branches and you don't have good solid roots, you don't have a tree. Eventually it's going to come down and it won't be there anymore for the family to hold on to.
Right. And kids are only going to remember, if you pass away, the children are going to remember 70 or 80% of the stories, and then their kids are going to remember 30% of them, and they lose something in the translation, but it's not in that person's voice. Their firsthand experience, again, their accent, their sense of humor, it's coming from them. You watch them cry and laugh and tell their story, and, I always knew this would be valuable to the people that hire us, meaning the kids, because they want to get their parents' story for their children and beyond. I didn't realize how valuable it would be for the actual people being interviewed. The most common comment I get back is, oh, my mother walks around her subdivision bragging that she's been interviewed by a Spielberg guy. So it's their 15 minutes of fame. We come in with lights and microphones, and, no one's asked them about grade school in 50 years. So they get to relive their story, and even if parts of it are sad, it's just a nice experience for them to go through.
And older people love telling you their story.
Forget older people. I mean, everybody's favorite subject is talking about themselves. So they're a star for 2 hours.
In the beginning, I could see how people might clam up a little bit, but once your job must be to get them to start talking.
You would be surprised. I mean, during the Spielberg project, I had a number of people who told me their story. I was the first human being they told their story to. Their kids knew they were Holocaust survivors, but they never, ever once talked about it to them because they didn't want to put that pain on them and they didn't want questions. So I've had people tell me the most private things. We've done interviews where people say, I want the tape. This was back in the days of tape. I'm going to get the tape. I'm going to put it in the safety deposit box, and my kids are not going to watch it till I die because I don't want to have to talk about it.
And that project was done, that was back in
that
the
was
early
94 to 98.
Yeah, and remember, I was in New York, and I was hearing about it and stuff.
Right, and they interviewed 54,000 people worldwide.
Wow.
And it's amazing how you got that many people.
Only Spielberg could have gotten something like that done.
And especially now, 25 years later, it's down to such a smaller number.
Right.
Well, the numbers are going to keep dwindling, and there's no question about it. And what they've done, like in Skokie at the Holocaust Memorial, they have some wonderful stories, and they've done those with the holograms.
Right, that's unbelievable technology.
Yeah, the technology, and that's what technology today is just little by little making it easier and easier to do some of these things so that people can leave behind a legacy, rather than, like you say, a check. Yeah, a check is easy. A trust fund is real easy.
Absolutely.
And you know what? The money's gone, but it's the memories that last forever.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
And
no question about it.
Please, we all spent the money real quick, and it's like, but you want to remember. I was just cleaning out a locker room a month ago with my sister, with my mom's stuff, and boxes of pictures and stuff, and then no one put names. I go, who is this?
Well, and that's the other part of it that we always tell people is it's one thing to preserve your story, and you should do that, but every single solitary person has these physical memories, the old film, the camcorder tapes, the photos, the slides, and I always tell people, if you don't transfer and digitize that, go home and throw it away, because it's fading every minute it sits there. Your kids will never own the equipment to play it on. So you've got to digitize that, and then all the family members can share it and have it, and it's protected from fire and flood and fading. But, if your house is burning, besides your kids and your pets, what are you going for?
And you know
your
what?
pictures and your videos.
And we keep saying that. I've been saying it for 4 years. I got to take all these VHS tapes and all the Super 8 tapes and all that Super 8 film, and I got to convert this all, and it's all sitting in these boxes, which are in a safe deposit box, because I know my house, God forbid, my dad told me, if you don't have insurance, Skylab will fall on your house the day you cancel it.
Well, we do that, so after the show you can talk to me about that.
Okay. So we're going to take a little break here, right, Lady B? We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back, and if you have some questions, Dan's here. He'll be happy to, Dan the video man, we'll call him, and he'll be happy to take some calls and answer a few things. Next week, it's Mother's Day.
I know.
So if with Mother's Day coming, you might make a great gift to say, hey, Mom, here's what I'm going to do for your birthday, for Mother's Day. I want to do this for you. Happens, Father's Day is coming up in June. So you have all these graduations, all kinds of events coming up. It's kind of a perfect time to put it together, make this a legacy that everyone will see for generations. If you have questions for Dan, he'll be here for the next 15 or 20 minutes. We'll be able to take that while we talk about some theater in between. So you've been doing this for a while, and when people do this, what are the families? Do they have parties afterwards to show it and view it? Do they have like a viewing of it and say, hey, family, come?
Well, absolutely. I mean, some people have, especially if all the relatives are in Chicago or wherever we do the interviews, we do them anywhere in the U.S., they will have a gathering. Sometimes the people are all over the United States, so they're sending them the link where they can watch it. But it's absolutely should be a family event, especially
so they
the
can
close
put this.
family.
They can put this on the internet, or
Well, they can. We give them whatever they want. So we give them DVDs and digital files. We also have, as of this year, a place on our website where they could punch in their name. It will take them to a password-protected page. And they can then watch the video, so they can send it to any relative anywhere in the world, and they can share the video.
Oh, okay.
And it's totally private. No one can grab the video off there. So,
all right. So this is theirs, and they're the ones that have to give that information to their relative or their friends and let them watch it.
Because let's be honest, DVD scratch, and when you do that, you're worried about, am I going to get a
I talk to a lot of people now. They're like, we don't even have a DVD player anymore. That's why we have the digital files. But sometimes the grandparents still have the DVD player in the house, so we have to give it to them so they could play it. And
okay, I still have the DVD player.
Okay,
all right,
and if you still have the VHS player, I can use it because we have some old VHS. Dan converted some of those over not to a digital file for us. We just don't know how to work it. Our grandson had to teach us how to work the digital file.
My favorite thing, the thing is over 20 years old, is I still have a VCR DVD maker. So
That's
I
right.
can put the tapes in and convert it.
That's really fancy. It was.
It was at the time, and you're right. Everything now is streaming and totally digital.
Well, and all that analog stuff, not the DVDs, but all the people's film and tapes, it's fading. Those precious memories, the weddings, the parties, the grandparents that are on there, it's all fading to nothing. You have to stop that by digitizing it.
Now, do you have a service to protect or to, let's say I give you a bunch of Super 8s or 8 millimeters or even 16 millimeters, which nobody ever heard of, I'm sure, except for this room. What do you have a way of converting those for people?
We digitize everything, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, every single format of camcorder, VHS, photo slides, everything. And the best part is we do it in-house. If you take it to any name brand store, any of them, they are shipping them all over the country on trucks and airplanes with 5 million other tapes. I wouldn't do that if it was free. So we do it in-house. You hand it to us. We digitize it. We give it back.
That is worth it. I mean, because that's the hardest thing, is getting that all converted. And, I keep looking, and then sometimes the prices are astronomical, but you're all including everything into the
It's everything.
packages.
We're less than Costco and Walgreens and much safer.
And it's the funny thing is that I had one of the people that was in a play that I was in years ago. The mother wanted a copy of the tape because she took hers to Costco to get. They had a 2-for-1. They were going to make two digital copies for her, and they lost it. And now the original was gone, so she had nothing. And luckily, I had my copy of the tape, and I was able to get it done. And the person who did that one for me, I stood over while they did it because I figured if they lose it, we have nothing again.
Nothing.
And now I got to find the people who were in the play to get copies of it. So we're okay with it. And that's why we did all the plays that Jane and I were in back in the days when we did plays. We got them all put so we have it for our grandkids to watch.
Well, the nice part is when you digitize it, you can share it on Facebook. You could edit little clips off of it. You can do things with it.
You know, and I had the little suitcase sitting in the garage, and inside are all these tapes and stuff going, this is all being destroyed.
Absolutely.
And I said, these have got to get converted, and we got to come up with the time to do it. Yeah.
Right. You don't have to have the time. You just have to deliver it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They do the
we
work.
have the time.
It's not something that you have to do.
Well, I just found something out. Jane, were you an actress?
Yes, she was. She's not a mic. Jane doesn't have a mic back there. Yeah, she was. She did her temple did plays. So they did musicals. And what they did is they would rewrite like a Hello Dolly and make it something else like Hello Sally. You know, and they would do it. They would make it. They would take some of the songs and redo the words. At my synagogue, we did full regular plays. We took the play as it was and did the play in the way that it was written, and paid the royalties and everything that went with it. So we both did it. We didn't do it, none of us knew each other back when we did these plays, and we now have them all together, but none of those can be merged. He couldn't put us in the same play together. That was impossible. As good as he may be, that couldn't be done, because Hello Sally and Hello Dolly just didn't work. Hello Sally. It just didn't work.
Oh, but that sounds like a great thing, and I think more and more people, Father's Day is coming up, Mother's Day coming up. Don't buy candy, don't buy flowers. Get a package of this. This would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so give us your information, your website.
How do people get hold of you? Yeah.
Okay, well, number one, they can call me, 847-940-9999, or they can go to our website, which is Personal History Interviews, plural, so personalhistoryinterviews.com.
Excellent.
All right, and you should think about it, though. I don't know what it would cost you or how it works out, but think about all the gifts that you give every time you give a gift and what those cost you and what it is 15 minutes after you give the gift. Especially if it's candy, it's gone. Flowers will only last a day or two, but if you take what those things cost and put it something like this, it's something that lasts for not only a lifetime, the way he's explaining it to us, it's going to last for generations. So it's a history of your life. It's a history of your family. It's something that means something to a lot of people out there.
And especially as you get older, it starts meaning more and more. And it's going, I wish I did this 20 years ago. I wish I did this 10 years ago.
Like with the family tree. I mean, Caitlin was asking me questions, and I really, really had to dig down deep to remember some of these things. I have a name of one of my cousins came up who lives in Vermont that I haven't talked to in probably 35 years. So I didn't even know he was still around. He's older than I am by 2 years. So I contacted him, and we had a little talk on the phone. It was kind of nice. We've been a long, long time. But now he's part of the family tree. Caitlin has talked to a couple of cousins that are third removed. And she's building something for the family to look at. So it's kind of neat that you can do that. And this is just one part of that arm. This is a way to do it. Okay. Do we have somebody on the phone right now, Lady, or? No. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember, most of my relatives, I see them at weddings and funerals. And at every funeral, I say, you know what? We have got to get together more often and discuss things. And you know what? They don't. Once the funeral's over, you don't talk to them, and then you lose things. And I had an uncle who was really good in trying to preserve the family tradition, and I wish we all sat down and did something like what you do.
Right, of course. I mean, there's usually one in each family that's really good about that. I know we have one, but that's why it's so important. You have to preserve this stuff. It's going away.
And, everybody thinks, oh, now that everybody's got a digital camera and their phone records, they think, oh, I got tons of stuff that I'm saving. If it's a mishmash, who's going to want to watch that?
Absolutely. Well, I get people all the time who say, well, why shouldn't I just do this myself? And my answer is, if you don't hire a professional, you should. But here's the difference. If you interview your parent, they're going to be the boss.
Right.
So when you ask a question, they'll say, oh, I told you that 100 times, or I don't want to talk about that. When I ask them, they're going to answer every single question just out of respect.
All right, we got a caller on the line for you, Dan. Hello, Jan, you're on the air.
Hi, I just have a question. I was listening to you at home, and I ran to the car, but I wanted to get your name and your number because I, too, have a lot of things that I would like to have converted, and I missed how to get in touch with you.
Okay, but now it sounds like you're driving. Am I going to give you the number while you're driving?
I am driving. Well, I'm at a red light. Hold on a minute. Can you give it to me fast?
It's the one time you didn't want to have one.
Dan the Video Man, 847-940-9999.
99.99. I'm writing it down without looking, but okay. Dan the Video Man. 940-9999.
You got it.
847 area code.
You got it.
And you know what? I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it on Around the Town later tonight.
So you can always go on to Elle's website, and that number will be there.
I'll put it there on Around the Town Chicago. Okay.
That'd be great. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Not a problem. Drive carefully. Don't get any tickets. Okay.
I will. Bye.